1-0 now. Whoa, 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 whoa. I'm Rod Duff, your host.
And I'm producer Barbie.
And together,
we bring you our podcast,
Insights and Straight Talk. And with that, producer Barbie and I are out. Remember yesterday when I said this is starting, Mangum here is starting to seem more like, well, you can tell I brought the dogs in today, guys. Say hi to Boomer and Daisy. They're getting a little rambunctious. They'll settle down in a minute. But remember, I told you I was. Wait a minute. Hold on, guys. Okay, I've got some feedback. I must have two shows going at the same time. Apologize about this, folks. I apologize, folks. I do not know which show is going on. There it is. Just found it. All right. Well, this gives me an opportunity to tell you we stream out to Instagram, which that one was the culprit there. I don't know why. I guess I left it on, as well as LinkedIn, to X, to Facebook, and to here on YouTube, which we'll talk more about. But after all that drama, good morning and welcome to Insights and Straight Talk. As you guys know, I am Rod Duff here with producer Barbie. And before I get into my monologue this morning, I just want to congratulate our new mayor, Mary Jane Scott. You met her last Friday, right here on Insights and Straight Talk. And then our new commissioner, Cooper Earls. You just met him on Monday. Both of them were here. The ones that showed up were the ones that won, and they won in big fashion. So Mangum starts anew, a fresh perspective. And as I say that, it makes me realize how much today's conversation, I was just talking to Susan and John in the back, how much this conversation is one of those rare moments where everything we've been building quietly comes together. And the dogs time that perfectly because they're finally settling down. Because when we talk about kids, right, we're not talking in theory. We're talking about real voices, real families, real futures. For me, one of those voices is my granddaughter, Emma Lynn. Still in high school, still growing and still navigating a world that asks far more of young people today than most of us adults ever had to face at the same age. And it was those Saturday conversations, our Saturday series, Insights and Straight Talk with Emma Lynn and Grandpa Rod, that changed. Those conversations changed the direction of this show. Those conversations didn't start as any kind of a movement. They just started as listening, but they became voices at the table. You all know voices at the table, and they grew into the Regeneration School Project. And that attracted partners like the Leaf Lab and the Mangum City Library right here, who recognized that this wasn't just content. It was an early structure of something meaningful. Because middle school, before high school, middle school isn't just a phase. It's a crucible. You get me? It's where kids first feel different, where anxiety often arrives before language, where parents sense that distance growing and don't always know how to bridge that. That's why Today's guests feel so aligned. Susan Chapelier is the author of Skyler and the Moonstone Medallions, a story written not to fix kids, but to equip them. Through the character of Skyler Quinn, kids are given real tools for mindfulness, emotional regulation, and self-trust, delivered through story instead of instruction. And alongside Susan, we're also joined by John Chapelier, whose life's work is focused on emotional intelligence, positive change, and helping people move from stress to meaning. Work that reinforces why these tools matter, not just for kids, but for families as a whole. Different paths, same mission. Susan's work, John's perspective, Emmeline's voice, and the conversations we hear every week through Voices at the Table. This episode isn't just aligned, it's connected. And I'm genuinely excited to bring these journeys together. So what do you say? John, Susan, let's begin.
Thank you very much. We're glad to be here.
You know, one thing I forgot to ask, I am having a really bad start here. I apologize. Unhinged to be nuts. But it's not always perfect. I mentioned that earlier on, but I will say this also. It's never this bad. I'm setting a record with you guys. But one thing I didn't ask you back in the green room back there, you didn't touch the peanuts, right?
No.
Wow, Susan, you look so disappointed in that. So one thing I didn't ask you guys, what we usually kind of, as people are kind of, and there's I don't know, 20, 30, 25 people coming in right now. But as people are starting to come in, I kind of like to ask, to start with your journey. What's the journey that you were on before? The journey that brought you to this journey that brought you here today? Obviously, children, what's that whole, some people have gone back to birth. I don't know, in this case, it's necessary, but why don't you go ahead and start, guys? Hey guys, knock it off. Not you guys, sorry, the dog. Go ahead.
I raised a challenging child, and always felt, no, not too unusual, but I documented everything with the idea that one day I would write a book that might help other moms. And that was assuming that my son got to the other side, which gratefully he did. But hold
on. Let me stop you right there.
Yeah.
I think you actually did it so that 20 years later or 30 years later, you could go back and abuse him through his children and tell him what he was like growing up. That's why I think it really started. And then you said, wait a minute, I could actually do this better. And you made a book, right?
Yeah.
We have all the photos and we have the tapes. Yes, and we're just waiting.
Wisely, he didn't have any children.
That's right. So far, he's chosen not to procreate.
Oh,
we'll see.
That dirty rat. All right, go ahead, Susan. I'm sorry.
But when the time came to write this book, and I've always loved writing. I just had never written a novel, but I realized that everything that I had gone through was 25 years earlier and not relevant today. So, all the strategies had changed, all the therapies, and I didn't even think about that until I got into the research. And so I just felt like, well, what we did at that time was very different than what parents are doing today, and I didn't think it would be valuable to them.
True,
but the one thing that didn't change was how it felt to be a mom of a child who was struggling, and your take on how that child felt. And so I felt like that was my story, but I didn't know what to do with that. In John's book, I had been part of his journey, and after his book was published, somewhere along the line, he was having it translated into another language. And someone said, it would be great if we had a book like this for kids. So that was my light bulb moment. And that set me on a 12-year journey, because I've been working on this book for 12 years. And in fairness, also learning how to write. So it was a combination of those things that brought me to finally get this book out. And
hey, you know what? Usually I don't bring questions on early on, but this one just feels perfect right now, because you just said this. So Clayton jumped right on. I think we're going to have some parents that because we're going through another change. I talk about, we talk about kids a lot on this show, as you guys we've already talked about, and we talk about kids in a way that's different than how we were talked to, right? What you said is 100% correct. The old ways, the only problem with that is we've gone from one pendulum, us, to what's happening now, over here. And we need to be where your book is, right here, where most people benefit from something that actually is done. Because this is no good. It's, this area is good. You've got to be in your children's lives, but this area is no good either. You can't overdo that. And so Clayton here, I just want to throw this in. We'll go back to different stories, but there's a lot. This is a really quick jump in here. I usually say about 20 or so minutes, but how can parents introduce this book to a resistant middle schooler? Oh my God, I'm even having trouble talking. You guys have got to carry this show. Please.
This is just a trial run, right? We're going to start all over again soon.
Yes. This is just the practice session. So you guys make it look more professional.
We're good.
Yes,
We're good.
So how to get a resistant middle schooler to read the book? I guess in part it depends if he or she is a avid reader. If they're, my son
let's go another direction with that. Do you recommend, as far as the book itself, of people reading it with their child, reading the book first, bringing those lessons in? What's the path of what's the instruction?
I think
I get the book today.
I think it depends on the age of the child. I think it depends on the child. I think lots of things. I loved reading to my son when he was even when he was in middle school, because that was when the whole Harry Potter stuff came out, and he was the same age. Yeah. He was the same age. So
as Harry.
Yeah. Right. So it was perfect. And I was hoping that would, start a love affair with reading for him. And that was my intent. But I've had 10-year-olds say that they read the book on their own and enjoyed the book, but got the message, which is astounded me.
Well, this is one of the reasons why there's a lot of neurodivergency in the discussions and in the psychologists that have approached us in talking about the book, is that the way in which we think differently.
John, this is one of those moments. Neurodivergency. You know what I'm talking about. I got a general idea, but let's dig a little bit.
It just means when people think differently than what we consider to be normal. The ADHD, autism, these kinds of things, these are divergent from the normal neuro processes. Okay. So Susan had and what she was alluding to a second ago, she had a review, or actually it was more of a testimonial that ended up posted as a review, but it was a friend of hers who she works with, whose niece has autism, and sent her a note that said, my niece, Shar, who's 9 years old, read your book. It's a 310-page book, read your book in 3 days, and said to her mom, this book, I finally now understand what to do when I feel overwhelmed.
It gave her ideas how to calm down when she was feeling
Susan
overwhelmed.
Is like
it made me cry.
Tears flowing down her eyes, because this is exactly what we want. So a resistant child, I think that the only thing you could do, I think the only thing you could do is give it to the child and see, because I'm much bigger at asking than telling. And so my thinking would be ask the child to try a chapter or two. The chapters are short.
They are short.
They
Or
are
tell
pretty
you,
much an arc, beginning and ending piece.
tell your child it's about skateboarding.
It's
because
about
it's a really fun
hold on. I'm
story.
going to put you. Hold on. Keep it up there. I'm going to put you on stage alone. Keep
it up a little bit.
Okay.
Up a little.
So I think the cover was designed by a local artist, and the idea with the cover was to have a kid take a look at it and be excited to read it.
Right.
And there is a lot of skateboarding. My son is a skateboarder, a professional skateboarder, so he guided me through some of the scenes where they're skateboarding. So you can always try that to interest your kid, because the story is fun.
And it starts out with the primary protagonist, Skyler, is sort of a
That's a beautiful cover.
Speak. Thinking always comes later. It's like speak and act, and then maybe think about it. And so, it starts out with her getting her friend in trouble, and her friend getting arrested, and she's running home.
Don't give away the story.
Her friend, Skyler, runs home to get her dad to get her friend out of jail because Skyler caused all the problems. And that's the first 5 pages. I mean, and so I would suspect that if Clayton has a child that is interested in reading or on any level, that just beginning to get into the book will draw her further or him further into it, rather than having the parent read it. I would think that a child might feel that this is punishment.
What age?
Until they get into it.
Skyler is 12, turns 13 in the book.
Right.
No. The consumer. What age? So 13 age range is what you're saying by that?
But my understanding is that kids
can
read
relate
up.
younger.
Yeah. I would say 10.
I'm saying the same thing.
Yeah, 10 up. We have some actually a couple across the street where the kids are reading, and one kid is 10, one kid is 16, and they're both reading it. They both getting a great deal out of it. So,
and adults enjoy it too. So it's and they can learn. I think teachers.
Let's get back to the message of what the book is resolving, and set the book aside as far as what we're looking to achieve, because the whole premise of the book is creating lessons for children of this age to be able to handle a world that they're going out into, and quite frankly, unprepared for. We talk about this throughout our work, and it's important to have stories like this, because literally, there's nothing in school that prepares kids from K through 12. There's nothing that prepares kids for life, for stepping out there, and not. It's completely dependent on the tools that their particular parents have, and to a lesser degree. But you'll be amazed that, especially the older they get, teenagers, the parents and the friends are actually closer than you would think, as far as who they would go to for discussions, for needs, and stories like this, like your book, stories like that, I think are a bridge. I talked about the bridge to parents having the tools to be able to bridge that distancing that kids have. I think stories like this and some of the other examples that we talk about including kids in conversations, instead of, I did a show the other day, this kid, he's got a media company. He's 19 years old. I mean, he's fascinating, homeschooled, schooled himself. But I've learned a lot from doing this show. I had one at the Leaf Lab, one of the guys that's a co-founder of that. He works with kids a lot. And one day we were having a conversation, and even though I'm kind of educated on it all, he was saying, Rod, you'd be fascinated at how smart the kids are today. And you were just giving some examples of even younger ones. It's just that they speak a different language. They're different. Think about it this way. My kids, I don't know how old you guys are. I'm 63. My kids are, right at 40-ish, plus or minus, right, a year-ish. And that generation, my kids' generation, I look at it as being the bridge generation, because anything after that, any generations after that have never experienced my life, like not even at all. We usually evolve gradually. The Industrial Revolution took forever, right? Horses, cars, planes, trains, all that. But now things are going very dramatically. And so I think that no time ever, the old way was sit down and be quiet. We'll tell you about it later. Don't speak until you're spoken to. And I'm kind of evolving out of that. And through that conversation with Penny, it really elevated my thought, because it's fascinating how intelligent kids are actually today. And so reading the book, I think they would gain a lot from it. What'd you say that one was 8 and one was 16? Your neighbors?
Yeah, about 10 and 16. But yeah,
10 and 16.
The young girl with autism was 9. So, it really depends on how strong the reader is. The book is written on a very comfortable level from a language standpoint. It's very easy. It's not complicated. The stories are very, very visual and experiential. So where, like with my book, was instructional. It was sort of 7 Habits of Highly Effective People kind of thing. Just here you did. Susan has taken each one of these steps and turned it into a visual fantasy experience of every single component that she takes the kids through. So it's an amazingly immersive process that she takes these readers through.
And the kids all have different situations. So I think any child reading the book would find themselves in there. There's bullying, there's parents, they're dealing with parents who are divorcing. What's that?
These are all big issues.
Yes.
Chris Hanna here. What is the best age to kind of start this confidence building? And I think, early and often, but how would you answer Chris's question here?
If I would have given anything to have these tools when our kids were young. So I think the earlier the better.
My biggest issue is false confidence. I think doesn't really help much. So it's not like you're the smartest person I ever met, kind of thing. This.
Wait. Yeah. Hold on, John. Hold on. Are you referring to where parents today or have been up to? Are you talking about where parents say, "You're my little genius"? That you're that kind of talking. Yeah, yes. I agree. Yeah, that's that pendulum I'm talking about.
Yes,
right?
And what I'm saying is it. To me, it doesn't matter if the child really is successful at something, or really is good at something, or is picking up something. Absolutely, positively, give them as much positive feedback as possible, and make sure the things that I try and do with adults is make sure that it's specific. It can't be, you're doing a great job. It's got to be, the way you handle that situation with the 2 other kids today. Oh my gosh, that was amazing. So that they can relate back to it. Well, when you're saying you're doing a great job, or you're really super, or you're the smartest person I ever met, that's great, but it just kind of washes over and washes away quickly. But the more specific you can be in your praise, the easier it is for the child or the adult to relate back to it and hold it sacred for a period of time.
So along that path that you're talking about right now, you guys, Clive wants to know, how do the Moonstone Medallions teach mindfulness in practical ways? So you've got a story here. That story moves along its arc, and what are those specifics that they're sprinkling along the young one's journey?
Well, the Moonstone Medallions.
I like that question.
Yes, that is a good question. And what?
We've got almost 300 people on, by the way. We got
Oh,
almost
wow.
My
300
goodness.
people on by then.
Okay.
Yeah.
The under the mindfulness is found underneath the concept of quiet time. Okay,
Exactly.
quiet time is the second Moonstone medallion. The first one is to be willing. Are you willing to try this? Are you willing to be uncomfortable? Are you willing to realize that you're not going to know all the answers? So that's number one, willing to try. And then number two is quiet time. This is when you can reduce your external, involvement in what's going on in the world and be able to sort of quiet down everything and set your intention for the moment, the day, the hour, whatever it is. And that's where mindfulness comes in. I think the situation that shows it best is the one when they're trapped under the stage door.
Yeah, the kids are touring the high school. They're in their last year. Well, some of them are in their last year of middle school, and they take a tour of the high school, and it's still sort of under construction. And the kids are exploring around on the stage, and they get stuck in a trap room underneath the stage. 3 of them do. And
the door slams shut on them, and they're in pitch black dark, and their foot gets caught.
One of the boys gets his foot caught, and they just have this scary experience, and they're just starting to learn about quiet time. And the one boy who's under there is more experienced with it than Skyler and DJ, who was the other boy that was under there. And he introduced the idea to the kids and said, if we don't calm down, we're not going to be able to get out of here. Right. So, and they sort of make fun of him a little bit, like, really, that's what you want to talk about now?
That's how we fix this.
He walks them through quiet time, and they come together. Right. And
they get settled down emotionally,
and they start breathing together, and they found this little kitten under there, and the kitten is purring, and Skyler's holding the kitten, and there's this whole thing that happens where they're able to calm down. And once they calm down, the boy relaxes enough that his foot does come loose because he's not tensed up. And a custodian comes by and saves the day and all this. But this calming process is where they're discovering it.
Right. It's the combination of calming, breathing, and the cat purring allows them an external thing to sort of, and that's what a mindfulness behavior would be, where you're sort of connected to something that's just keeping you on a calm, flat process so you can be in the moment. And in the moment, your foot comes loose and they get out of the space.
And what I really like about that, which before I say that, are you guys looking at 2 separate sets of screens on your screen?
Well, we see you in the middle.
We see 2 separate sets of screens. One is that you're on the left and we're on the right, and the other one is
just us.
I think this one down here is just us. So, but I think so.
So along that way, if you'll notice, what's happening here is we stream out to these different locations that I told you about because of my little thing. But we also stream out by, you're probably looking at it on a computer, right, or a laptop or a desktop or something.
Yeah.
People who watch the show on a phone have a different configuration.
Okay.
The only reason I'm bringing that up is just keep an eye to stay a little bit closer together that you're not too far out. I mean, it's fine for me. That's a good look. Let's pause right here. I'm going to take a picture.
No, don't take it.
Screenshot.
Screenshot.
Screenshot. Oh wait, we already have it on video. Never mind. I already got you.
You do.
You're toast. The other thing was that I really
anonymity.
So the other thing I really picked up out of that I really liked is extending past that. So they got through that, through that lesson that the one boy was a little more experienced on. It was one of the boys, right?
Right.
Okay, I just didn't want to misgender, but at the end of the day, I like that lesson. But if you go one more step, it was also interesting how there was a little leadership in there. They were making fun of him for a minute. He didn't back down, and he said, "Hey, look, this is what we really need to do." And they walked through it with him. So you have this more of a mature group of actions, and just in this one little thing. But when we're talking about that, Susan, I really started to think about how that next level is also coming out. So not only did the janitor saved them, but they calmed themselves down.
Right.
But that leadership aspect kind of sprinkled in there. I really like that. Let's go to Faz here. Cool name, Faz. Faz Rot. What makes storytelling? And I love this. Oh, I meant to mention that. What makes storytelling more effective than direct advice? And we talked about that earlier on, where kids, especially kids, but anybody, and you know this too, John, anybody really learns more from a story, kind of like how the show goes. We're telling stories back and forth, because the other way is one, boring, and two, you kind of shut out, and three, you're not leaning into what it is. There's a difference between learning and leaning in, right?
Yeah, it's
so. What do you got here?
I was just going to say it's like everybody learns from their uncle, not their father, kind of thing. I listen to my cousin, but not my parents, that's the story versus me telling me as a parent telling my child versus telling about a story that the child can compare into. I had that happen to me, and without telling them to compare in. I mean, this is one of the things that happens. I mean, Susan's written a book that is so inviting that the kids, we had a friend of ours who sent a note just the other day, who has spent her whole life with kids, that age, 10 to 16 or so. And she said, for some reason, Susan very much has the way in which they talk to each other down pat. It's really, it's not as if they're trying to pretend to like this. It fits the genre very nicely. So I think stories work because people can compare in. I think that they get caught up in the concept, and the next thing they know, they're learning without learning. I mean, it's a lesson that sort of comes in right below the obvious. And I think when you're just telling somebody what you want them to do, that's about as obvious as you could possibly get. And so it fits more into the, a story asks you to come along with it. And a dialogue just tells you what you expect somebody to do.
And I was so conscious of this as I went through this book, because I didn't want it to feel like homework. I didn't want it to be something kids didn't want to read, because and then it would be work, and they wouldn't be getting the messages. So
I think there's a couple different answers here, and you're talking about them all along. Yeah, stories for kids, especially. Think about it. The dinosaur picture books, and teaching kids about this and that. Starting from a very early age, they learn by stories. Young kids learn by stories, and we've kind of forgot that. I think going as we grow older and get into instruction. But on top of that, we talked about this the other day with someone in a leadership discussion, talking about leadership, and I told you we do shows 6 days a week, didn't I? This is like our 500th show.
Yeah. This
week we're going to hit 500 in a year and a half. In a year and a half, that's almost more shows than days, I think. But anyway, we were talking about leadership in this particular show. And circling around that, one other thing that happens with stories is when you tell a story in your instruction, you're actually building trust with somebody else, especially as you get older. I think it applies as much that way. And that's why in all the different experts like yourselves that we talk to, you're in this age, but it continues on. It's not different. It's not like just because they're a kid, the story is more effective. It's double effective because you're a kid. For Susan, what you just said, where it's more entertaining, and kids will have a tendency to want to play along. Let's go. I don't know what I want to say there, but play along with it. But also is you're building trust with that young mind, because that story is how they've learned to learn. and you're spending time with them, and they're, that voice comes out more than, hey, why don't you do this?
Right.
Big difference, right? Big difference.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's never in there. Miss M is so positive all the way through with these kids, and so encouraging. So
yeah, and you have, the old thing about what is it, participation trophies, you mentioned it earlier, John. You just don't want to overdo it, but you have to be focused, laser pointed in that encouragement, right?
Right. Right.
And
God,
she's
we've already been
teaching
going
them
40 minutes. We've already been going 40 minutes. Wow. This is beautiful. I love this. Go on, please. Sorry.
No, I was just going to say her focus with these kids is their inner powers. The idea here is that kids
give some of the inner powers. Give some of the inner powers. Exactly.
Well, it's all based on the 6 medallions. So it's the willingness, quiet time, love and forgiveness, service, gratitude, and action. Love and forgiveness we treat as one. So all those things. She takes the kids to a home where mothers come after they're trying to reassimilate back into life after prison, for example. And this is a place where women transition, but they have kids that they've not been with for a while, and there's this place where they go, and she brings the kids there, and she lets them do things. They pick flowers, they play in the treehouse, they get involved with these children, young children who are there. What's that?
I want to go there.
Susan built that place in Alexandria, Virginia, literally in real life.
Well, not just me. There was a whole
not just
network.
Susan, but she ran the whole process of building out this.
But that was based on a true story. But
that sounds cool.
In the mid '80s, she created it as a design showcase house, and she got
alternative
all the Washington D.C. area interior designers.
Susan, you're an interior designer, right?
Yes,
you said that earlier, John. Right? That's right. Yeah. So you built it as a project, like a marketing thing.
It was no. It was a house that was being foreclosed on in the community, and it had been zoned for multi inhabitants, and we felt like if it was lost, we'd never get, because it was in a fairly nice neighborhood, so we would never get it back if it was actually foreclosed on. So I was an active member of the Kiwanis Club at the time, and they had the project. So it was a combination of the business community, the service community, the design community, Habitat for Humanity. We just came in and we redid the entire house and made it functional. Nice. And, so it's not like you think of a designer's showcase houses for the symphony where it's all this high-end stuff. This was an alternative showcase house because the designers were creating a home, not an individual room. So it was. They
built this spectacular castle. She got contractors to build.
And it was designed by the kids.
For the kids.
It was the student chapter of the American Society.
What happened to it after?
It's still going strong.
Still going.
And it's just an open space. It's an open space.
It's where people live.
Or is it somebody lived there? Somebody lives there.
Yes.
The women who are coming out of prison, who have paid their debt in prison, but they need to have a place to live while they transition back into. They help.
And the kids that you're talking about are their kids.
Yes, who have been staying with relatives
I'm glad I asked.
Yeah,
I'm glad I asked. That's very cool. How many rooms?
Got a note from a friend that it was still. Who was still in the Kiwanis Club in Alexandria, and said, everything. We were just over at the design house the other day, and
not a design house anymore. But
so it's just. I mean, but that's the kind of life.
And there was a waiting list. There was a waiting list to get in.
How many rooms?
Not that many. I think maybe 10 15 women could live there.
That's awesome, man. That's substantial, actually. That must be hard, actually kind of hard to manage, maybe a little bit.
Well, they have staff that,
Well, of course, that know what they're doing, of course. Yeah. No, but I've been I've dealt with a lot in my life. This show isn't here just because, I think I'll talk about stuff. There's a lot of experience that I've been through in my life.
Right.
So how can parents create? I've been wanting to ask this. And I apologize, but I wanted to hear the story. We were right at the perfect spot for this question, and then I asked, and I said, "Oh wait, I want to hear about this house." And we went down that whole
Okay.
that whole
That
thing.
rabbit hole?
So
Okay.
ADHD, right? So
Okay.
how can parents create a shared language at home using this book? And that's one of the key components of this book is that shared language thing, right?
Well, I think if parents
Hey, wait a minute,
are
hold on. Did you just do that thumbs up? Oh, you got something on
No.
your.
No.
Did you see that?
Yeah,
No,
I
I
did
did
see
not.
that. I wonder what that was.
Hey, bring your thumb back up to your face. Closer
No.
to the
No,
edge.
there was.
Closer to the edge.
I saw
You
this
mean it
little.
popped up on the screen?
Yeah, a little
Yeah.
white hand.
So
popped up.
somebody in the audience, every once in a while this happens, and I did,
Oh, no.
I didn't ask before. So it's funny how technology is today. Somebody just gave you a thumbs up. I don't know
thank
how
you.
they did
Oh,
it.
yeah, thanks.
you for
I don't know
trying.
how they did it, but you just
Thank you
got
very
2
much.
thumbs up. So I don't
Oh,
know
very
how that
nice.
works.
Jesus.
Thank you.
I'm still learning that, but you saw it, didn't you? Right? You saw
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah, I
We
did.
I
see
didn't
it.
know if it was something you guys had on your thing because I've seen
No.
it 2 other times.
Well, I've seen it on
I
Zoom
didn't ask.
before where you can, do
Yeah.
physical stuff, but I've never seen it on StreamYard.
Yeah, me either. That's crazy. It's not crazy. It's awesome.
Maybe it's that
All right, so let's
19-year-old
get.
media guy you were talking about. He's been able to hack
Hey,
in.
actually, I have B coming in. He's 20. We're actually finally. I'm going to get some help around it. 6 days a week,
Oh,
putting in all the shows, doing all that. And I'm not complaining. At 30 years, I built a machinery business in the Chicagoland area.
Okay.
Moved from
Wow.
California out to Chicago, business set up in a business, and then wound that down in about a year and a half. Well, there it is again. Look at.
Oh, wow.
I
Well,
did see that. Did you see it?
Yeah, I did.
Yeah,
Popped
that's
in.
cool. You know what? Now that I brought it up, I hope whoever has that thing that they could do isn't going to be doing it every 10 seconds, and you're going to be getting a thumb up
We're
your nose.
good,
You
but
notice
we're not that good.
Yeah. So then I started this show, and in that I've gone through a lot of things, and so we talk about a lot of different subjects. That's why the show's so important to me, because it's a healing in itself as well.
Yeah.
But let's go back to Damien here.
Okay.
Unless I get distracted by that thumbs up again. The shared link. You know what? They're being a smart aleck. They're doing it again. They just did it again. Whoever
shared
you are,
language.
thank you.
Yes,
Thank you. The
thank
shared
you.
language.
So I think the
Shiny
shared
things.
language idea would be if the parents have read the book, whether they read it with their children or they read it separately, if they are both familiar with these moonstone medallions, inner powers, whatever you want to call them, that they would have that language, because they would have words to put to these various things.
Right. But there's a whole lot of components that fit underneath each of this medallions. I mean, with willingness, as I said, it's a whole series of things that you need to be willing to do, but primarily you'd be willing to start, and then with quiet time,
True.
It's a combination of, could be prayer, could be meditation, could be mindfulness. We don't really advocate one thing over another, just an opportunity for you to settle yourself down. And so what I do when I'm talking to adults, I said, this is an opportunity for you to set your intention for the day or for the hour or for the next phone call or whatever it might be. And so what you can do then is to check in throughout the day and see how you're doing on an intention. Today, my intention is to be kind. Well, how are you doing? Or did you get in the car and start pounding on the steering wheel right away? I mean, kind of thing. So that's, and then service to others. Are you being service focused? What are you doing in the way of being service minded? Are you doing something gigantic? Or are you just simply putting a quarter in a parking meter that looks like it might be expiring anytime soon? And then when you get to love and forgiveness, it gets into how can you tell when somebody loves you? Can you tell by their behavior? Because you want to know by the behavior, not by the words that they're using, but by the behavior they're using. And forgiveness is letting go of all the anger and resentment and judgments that you drag around all day to work, back to school, back home again. Are you letting go of those things? And then when you get to gratitude, learning to be grateful even for the things that you don't necessarily think are the best that could happen to you.
But the kids learn in a much more interactive way than
yes, and that's what Susan. That's
like.
why Susan's book is so much more powerful for the audience, because it is all those are what I'm describing. She explains with detailed experience. I mean, I'm sorry.
With description, with beauty, with charm,
exactly.
with a rhythm, with a
But
rhythm.
Miss M
I'm a writer. I love
over.
writing.
There you go.
Yeah,
she does too.
Yeah, I've written like 4,000 poems and 3 books. I
Wow.
love writing. It's a healing thing for me. I've never published any of the books, by the way. They're all 3 separate genres. This one I am going to publish. Go ahead, John. You were going to stick something up there.
No, I was just going to suggest Susan has a couple little segments here. If you'd like to have her read something, she does have one of them which describes isn't there one of these?
This was a sketch. I don't know that you can see this, but Skyler draws this at some point to help her friends understand. There's one child. These kids are all very different, and there's one kid that just cannot wrap his head around these concepts. And they go into a restaurant, and she finally realizes that he's serious, because this is the kid that's always cracking a joke. And she finally realizes that he really does not get this. And so she goes through this process. All the kids do it together, where they draw this car and they draw something that symbolizes each of these powers. And, it's just
when you say, wait, when you say symbolizes each of those powers, meaning they give an examples where the powers did something? Is that what you're saying?
You might.
I could read that part if you want.
It's just a couple minutes if you wanted to read it. It explains each one of the components and how it relates to the car.
Well, I can just explain.
Let me. Yeah, yes, you can read it. That's fine. One thing though, anywhere in there you see Dirk's question: can this approach work for kids who struggle with? It's kind of like the very first question we have.
What happens on our screen?
Is impulsivity.
What happens on our screen is the dialogue that's going on between us shows up in a large black box at the bottom of the screen, and it blocks out.
Yeah, so you have to tell us if there's questions.
Out the questions. I can see the photograph and the name, but I can't see any of the question is blocked out by the dialogue box on our screen.
Oh, you must have it on whatever that is.
Hang on a second.
But impulsivity, yes. Impulsivity, definitely.
The question is from Dirk, can this approach work for kids who struggle with impulsivity? And I didn't know. That's why I brought it up, because I wasn't sure.
That's what I would say.
To me, impulsivity would be a hard one. Go ahead.
It is hard, but it is very much part of the main character. These kids all have different things, but impulsivity is what Skyler struggles with. She has a lot of things that she struggles with, but impulsivity is she's in the very beginning of the book. She and her best friend are going through Rehoboth, Delaware, and that's where they're vacationing. And they end up in a situation where her friend ends up getting arrested, and it's her fault because of her impulsivity. And he's her only friend. And so a big part of the book is devoted to this friendship, because that's another issue. These kids have struggles getting along together. So there's kids in this group that don't get along and are learning how to get along. Her best friend here is not in this Miss M group, but it's part of a thread all the way through the book.
Right, and it's her impulsivity that gets him in trouble.
Gotcha. Absolutely. What's the Miss M group? I'm not connected.
It's a secret club, and it's a secret club that consists of Miss M and 6 kids, boys and girls. All
Miss M is being an adult. Obviously.
Miss M is the
right there.
She is the drama teacher.
Yes.
She is a drama teacher,
and she kind of takes these kids under her wing and has this program
and takes them on these adventures.
How come I don't see anything now?
Oh, geez.
Can you still hear us?
Yeah, I hear you fine.
Okay, so anyway,
Wait,
yes.
wait. Hold on. What are you missing?
Okay.
What can't you see?
Oh, I got it back. We're good.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Okay. Oh my goodness, the thumbs up is back.
Oh, okay. Really, that screen is different now. Are you not
It's
seeing what
just-
I see?
We're
Okay.
the only
What
thing
do you
that's on
guys
the
see?
screen, we
I
just
see,
see
like-
us. just
Well,
the
but
two
I
of
don't
us.
see a clear picture of us. I see. Is it my angle? Okay, there it is. Okay.
From
okay.
this side,
Sorry.
you guys look great. You guys are
Okay.
very handsome, by the way. Very
Oh,
handsome.
yes.
You two.
Thank you so
you.
much.
You two very-
I've been worn down to the nub of a man you see before you.
Yes, I know that feeling, my friend.
Yes.
All right. Did we get through that part? Should we go on to Olivia or Chandler, or we were talking about impulsivity? Did we kind of
Right.
cover that?
I
Honestly,
hope so,
we,
but
we got into
yeah,
some side conversation. Was there
It-
anything you
it's-
wanted to add?
Just that it is very much a part of Skyler's process.
impulsivity is an
And
issue
Skyler's
dealt
the
with.
main
Skyler's the main
character.
Main
And
character.
So
there's about
absolutely
6
great
kids,
question.
plus Miss M, who is the drama teacher. There's a few other ancillary characters, but it's
Like
primarily
Skyler has a good relationship with her mom. You know, there's talking that goes on there, but
Yeah.
the primary interaction is with Miss M and the kids.
right.
Well, I just
And,
want to say this, Dirk, man, dude, that was a dinger. That was a good, because that one caught me
Yeah.
by surprise. I wasn't sure about it because
Yeah.
I thought it kind of sounded like the first one back here with Hunter. I think it was that. Yeah, about to resistant middle schoolers. And
Right.
then,
Yeah.
you know, so I wasn't sure if we were crossing paths, but we reinforced that original point here. Whoops, that original point here with.
Yes.
Now I lost my spot.
Skyler's
With-
Skyler's living a pretty sad and lonely life because of impulsivity.
And other things.
because
She
it got
suffers
her
from-
friend. Was it arrested? You said, right?
Yeah.
Oh, thumbs up. Do you guys?
Yep.
Can you guys
Thank you.
see that right when it comes up?
Yeah,
Or
comes up as a bubble and a thumb inside.
Yeah.
I see
that's
it.
funny.
The
And
well,
really, it's interesting because I, like many first authors, I had that story about 30 pages into the book. And when my son read it, he said, "Mom, I was bored out of my mind until I got to that scene
with
with
being arrested.
with the skateboarding, because they're in a skate shop and it's all about pretending to be a skateboard
Ooh.
pro. And it's a really, really interesting
that's a
story.
big
So I
hey,
rewrote the book to open with that.
Hey, I grew up in. Just to give some context, I grew up in. My high school was Huntington Beach High School.
Oh, okay.
Skateboarding is San Clemente, Huntington Beach. As a child, I split time back and forth between
Yeah, well,
Chicago
that's why
and
Dayton
LA.
lives in San Diego. He
I
lives in
love
San
that
Diego.
skateboarder angle. Huh?
Yeah.
What's that?
Yeah.
Well,
Dayton-
that was part of the fun, making it fun for kids.
Right. It's Dayton lives in
Yeah.
San Diego. He moved from this part of Florida to San Diego so he'd have a more skateboard oriented demographic.
Oh,
And
absolutely.
so
It
he's
totally
been out
is.
there
It-
15 years, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. He still teaches skateboarding every day to kids. A lot of kids, about half his kids are on the spectrum. About
what,
half
And
his
they're
what
kids.
young.
what part of San Diego? I know
He
San
lives
Diego.
north of San Diego. He lives in
Encinitas is where he teaches.
Oh, I know where Encinitas is. That's a great.
Yeah.
Oh man, that. Dang it, man! Now I don't like Oklahoma for the moment.
You know,
'Cause
if
I
you
know all
excuse
those
me, I'll go
places.
cancel that appointment because if we're going to keep talking, I just didn't know.
We've
I'll
only
go-
got about 4 or 5 questions, so we're right on probably about an hour and 5-10 minutes is how
Okay.
we're going to go. So
Okay.
probably about 10-15 more. It's up to you. What do you want?
No,
to do?
that's okay. That's all right. We can
Sure.
do that, and I'll just drive fast.
Okay. That's great.
Well, if more pop on, I'll let you know. I mean, we can
Okay.
manage these people. They're a little ruly, but we can still manage them a little.
That's right. That's right.
Okay.
You're going to get
You
a
know,
thumbs down in a second for leaving.
Yeah, that's right. You keep that up. You're going to get
That's right.
one there, Susan. You're going to get this. How can dads? I love this one. I've been dying to bring this up. How can dads connect better with middle schoolers emotionally? And I think moms have, especially with girls, have there's a critical time in there at that point. But Olivia probably has a husband. She looks young, maybe with a younger child. and the dad isn't connecting maybe? It's a great question. I raised 5 boys. So
Oh my.
Wow.
that was you know what my biggest skill at coming out of being a father of 5 boys was?
What?
I'm very good at carpentry. Asses going through walls, over couches, wrestling matches. And
Yeah.
it
Right.
was it was a very active household. But
Five
anyway,
boys would
so
be that. Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Well, there
Uh,
are dads.
and
I
you know
mean,
what? You know what now? Sorry, Susan.
No, no,
no,
But
no.
you
no,
know
no.
what? I have granddaughters now. And
Uh,
I got ripped. I love my boys, but I love my girls way more. They're so cool.
it's so
Girls
different.
are awesome. Girls, yeah,
Yeah, but
exactly. They are.
Yeah.
Go
they
ahead,
get a
Susan,
little
please.
harder as they
Yeah.
get older, though.
Yeah. That's right.
Well, there's that. Yeah, no,
Teen
no, no.
girls
Boys are easy.
tough.
My
Boys are easy, but girls are complicated. But
My only
dads,
suggestion for the dad, and Susan may have a different thought on this, but for me, we tend to tell, not ask, because I already know how to do this. So I'm just going to tell you how to do it. And we're going to save ourselves a lot of time. Just listen to what I have to say and I'll take care of it. And that's not going to work. So the thing that this happens, trust me, all over the world, every time, everywhere I go, men want to lead with intelligence, and women are very comfortable understanding to lead with emotion. And men don't get comfortable with emotion. So if you want to, the question was about how do you connect better emotionally? And that's how you connect
absolutely.
better emotionally. So it is be comfortable sharing the emotions that you're feeling, not just the intellectual experience that you're trying to transmit. Because I think kids assimilate much more clearly from an emotion. So, relax a little bit, drop the need to be highly intellectual here, and just express the emotions that you're feeling. And I think they get absorbed better by the kids. And I'll let Susan.
No, I think listening. I think listening is key.
Yes.
yeah,
Yes.
no doubt about it. And I kind of turn the lens a little bit with you, John, there together in that I think, of course, intelligent, but I think men are more fixers. They just want to fix stuff.
Yes.
They're very, that's kind of been their role through evolution is to be fixers, to fix things. And I think as our human species evolve, I think we as men, women as women, need to continue to evolve in that kids are becoming smarter. AI is changing the world as we know it, but we're also starting to realize some things that maybe our next evolution is that next point where we step back and we communicate. We don't talk at kids. We have them join the conversation, because let's be quite frank and quite honest. The decisions that are made today or are not made are what our children are inheriting. And so we need to be able to talk with them, not at them, and
Right.
have that ability for them to walk into this world that they're inheriting
Right.
without being blind, right, guys?
And I think that to me, the way in which that works effectively is by asking, is that clear? Did I make myself, is that clear? Do you understand what I'm actually trying to say here? Are you feeling what I'm saying? So that it's not just a matter of I drop out a whole lot of words and then I go, okay, and I walk off.
Right.
It's a matter of the willingness to be engaged, be like you were talking about before we started, be wrong, make a mistake, not be clear, and be comfortable by being questioned by somebody who, this is the same dynamic I run into organizations all the time. Leadership wants to do it this way, and the workers don't understand what's being said, or they don't understand it, but they feel uncomfortable about asking a question. So it's just, it's the same thing.
Let me ask you guys something here. This is I was going to ask you this very early on, and then I got sidelined. Shocker. And so I'm coming back to it because I have an answer for me on this. This book, Susan, your book is let's call it unique in the world, the way the world currently, although it is moving this direction, in the way the world currently acts, the way the world works, right? So it's unique in that sense. How have you always? So you've had one boy, right? Correct. You had one. You had a boy,
And we have 2 daughters.
We have 2 daughters.
Okay, so you have
So
3
they're
kids.
much older. Yeah.
Good. So that you have this. You have this.
And 5
How-
grandchildren.
Congratulations. That's the reward for getting
Yes.
through parenthood.
Yes,
I
it
am
is.
learning that is absolutely God's gift, saying, okay, you didn't fucking kill him, pardon my language. So here's
That's
grandkids,
right.
because
That's right.
that is the most beautiful, amazing thing in the
That
world.
is pretty
you know?
great.
It is pretty.
It
It is
is.
pretty great.
It
It is.
So when your 3 kids, as they were growing up, did you parent them in this style?
No.
You had said one of your kids. Okay, so when did this?
No, because
when did this knowledge? When did this journey come to you on?
this
What was the
started
turning
with
point?
John's personal journey, which is
Right.
outlined in his book. So it started with that. But I mean, I was always in search of what would work. Positive reinforcement. I mean, trying to figure
Yeah.
out what worked for my.
You mean as a
yeah,
parent? You mean
as a parent.
Yeah.
But I
We're
never
all,
had a.
we're
I
all
never had a
blind,
recipe.
actually.
Yeah.
We're all blind, man. Well,
Right.
we talk about it. Parents that don't have the tools. It's not a. That's not a. That's not a downplay. That's not a whatever. I'm going blank on the word. That's not
No,
a
it's
insult.
you're
but
not
it's
right.
common.
You don't have. There's no instructions.
It's
so you can sort of
common.
learn as you go.
It's common, and we need more
Right.
stuff like this across the board. I mean, that's why I want this pilot program. That's why we're working so hard to get that, because it's kind of these kinds of lessons. It's life that you're teaching kids and frankly families, and we
Right.
need that because we're the world is evolving very, very quick. There's something coming that we need to work from the inside out and really be able to catch up to this next human evolution. I'm going to quit grandstanding there for a second and bring her question on. How do we help kids who feel different at school? Because it's an awesome question. It was in my monologue. It's first place, kids start to feel different, right? And Tony, great question. What do you say, Susan?
Well, I think all these kids feel different. I think Skyler, I mean, she feels isolated. She feels alone. She feels like she has no control over what she says or does. And she's aware of it, but she just doesn't know how to control it. And
Interesting.
yeah. And so, I mean, that's part of, and there's a
So
very
in the
strong character arc here.
lesson, sorry, Susan, in the lesson of the book, how is that? How is your book? How are the stories? How are they projecting that lesson to help kids walk through that? Give me an example of that.
What do you think would be the best example? Because Skyler actually is a very fast learner in this book. She gets these powers, and she's pretty quick. What do you think would be best? I mean,
the one that you
the easiest one
give
is
an example. Go ahead.
the meditation thing is a pretty easy one, or maybe the botanical gardens. Susan has them.
I have this set in Washington, D.C.,
Right.
and so there's a lot
I love
of
Washington.
Yeah, we've spent most of our adult life there. So, going to the various places, they go to the botanical gardens, they go to the Kennedy Center.
Well, yeah.
To see a play, Sheer Madness, which is a real play that was there for many years. And she just takes them to these places and runs into people who have had experiences with her in the past. So there's
Right.
sort of this never-ending kind of thing to Miss M. There's a little bit of magical stuff in there. It's
right. One of the actors in the play was one of Miss M's drama students learning the concepts of the medallions. The judge that's at the beginning of we're talking about getting arrested at the beginning. At the end of the book, when the judge they finally get this thing to court, the judge
don't do it. Don't do it. Don't tell us what the story is.
It's important,
but it's people that the kids come in contact with that also know about the medallions and have experiences to share.
Right.
And
So it's
And through that, so different people are seeing different experiences. So what really is different? At the end of the day, we're all kind of, we're all human. We're all energy, right? 6 feet out from us. We have frequencies that go out. That's why you can feel somebody kind of coming up behind you, right? But at the end of the day, we're all a human creature on a human experience, but we also are all unique. I mean, literally, you two sitting next to each other, me sitting next to you, literally would be seeing, we have completely different lives. You know, it's
exactly.
because we see each thing that happens, each moment is through a lens of our own experiences, our own mind, right? So so in that aspect, I mean, nobody's exactly the same, but we're all a little different anyway, more on to scale. And sometimes the more different you are, more than sometimes, the more different that you are, the more special you become, meaning a good way. Things
what's the phrase
change
that
when
you're
you're
using
different.
here? Wouldn't it be cool if we realized that the thing that makes us different is the thing that makes us special?
Yeah, there you go.
And the other component of the book is the concept of acceptance on all levels, and the fact that the girl that I used to call fat at the beginning of the book is really somebody who I want to emulate by the middle of the book. You know, somebody who I thought was stuck up is really dealing with her issues that I had no idea what's going on. And now that I understand that, it makes a whole lot more sense. So it's a matter of learning to set things aside. And that's what willingness is all about, being willing to create a sense of acceptance before you judge other people, before you get to know them, before you go into a situation that you've already determined, I'm not going to like this. I'm not going to like her. I'm not going to like him. You know, letting go of that, because there's a phrase I've always loved, which is the thing that will keep us in perpetual ignorance is condemnation prior to investigation. And
curious is a very important constant theme on this. It's how this all started.
And acceptance. You know, it's like find out what's going on before you judge.
There's a poem out there. Shoot, I'm going blank on the poet's name. But I saw this scene in this show, and he's talking about this example that's going on. None of that's important, but in his dialogue, he said, Waldo Emerson. He said he saw this thing painted on the wall, and it's part of a poem. And what he said was, "Be curious, not judgmental."
Right.
Does that fit here?
And that's what these kids learn. These kids, and when you're 12, 13, 14, you are pretty judgmental, you know, without a 100%. Lot of knowledge or understanding. Sure. I mean, it's 100%. Just the way you are as kids. I mean, I remember it distinctly.
Can I just say, because we've used the word fat, which disturbs me a lot.
Okay.
This book is very big on positive body image. So that is something one of the kids struggles with, and it's important how this is dealt with in here. So
in a very positive way.
In a very positive way, just accepting people for how they are.
I mean, you're right back to it. Everybody being a little bit different. So we've got this question and 2 more, Susan, if you're okay on time. We're at an hour and 9 minutes.
Okay.
That's kind of gone fast, hasn't it?
It has. This has been fun. That's a good first experience for me.
I may be able to get him to do another podcast someday.
There you go. Well, you know, John, you still owe me that money for doing this because
I'm sorry. I know.
You worked that out.
Now
that you bring it up,
to the place you told me to send it, so it's already on its way.
Beautiful. I can eat steak tonight.
How
can mindfulness be made fun instead of boring for kids? And I kind of get this question from Kevin.
Sure.
Wait. Before we do that, we never got to the point when you started this new thought process, raising kids. How old were you guys?
Well, I was young when the girls were from my first marriage. So I had both my kids by the time I was 26.
They were 8 and 12 when we married.
They were still very young when we got married. They're 8 and 12.
So that was already a process there?
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
And then
I would.
did you both have the boy then? Is that
Yes,
between
Yes.
you
he's
two? Okay.
ours.
Yes.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
he is
Well,
about,
he had three moms.
he,
Wow.
There was such an age difference
Yeah,
between
they
the
were.
kids that it
Well,
was
that's what I
was
mean.
really
That's what
kind
I
of an
mean.
only
Right.
child.
He was very
Right,
helpful.
true.
The girls loved him until he became, like 7 or 8 years old and became more of a pain than he was.
Yeah,
than he
adorable.
Was, adorable, yeah. But they
That's
always
right. That's a
maintained
whole different thing.
a good commitment to each other and their successes. But they each had
around
lots of struggles
somewhere-
growing up. Lots of struggles growing up.
somewhere after so when he was raised and so forth and brought up, the only reason I was even asking is because I grew up in the old school style, and but not quite. In other words, have always been involved in my kids' activities, sports, and so forth. I was raised with a little bit harder hand military family. So I kind of backed off that, but was still, a bit strict and not relationship driven,
Right.
which is the main difference that I think we're talking about here.
Right.
And so the first smack in the head to me was when I started really developing a relationship with my granddaughter, because I saw what a difference in reaction that is. And then as my kids have gotten older, my boys have gotten older, they react to me differently now, and they bring up things, and a lot of them are following in my footsteps in different things. So that's all very exciting. But through my granddaughter, I started seeing a difference in being a relational more discussion, being much more effective. And the reason I say that is because her parents, my son and my daughter-in-law, both great people. They met right away in high school, were a thing all the way through high school, got married right going into college, and had her a year later. So I may even get great grandkids, but they are this
Us
new
too.
kind of
Yeah.
they are this new kind of style of they have an amazing relationship. They have a discussion relationship. She's not perfect. She's a teenage girl.
Right.
And so she's at that point where, hormones and there's stuff going on.
Right.
And
right.
so there's moments, but, I watch them every day and I talk to her every day, and I talk to them probably 2 or 3 times a week. And you know what? They taught me. And then all of a sudden this show, I'm hearing all these different things. It's really kind of evolved my pressure towards moving in a direction that you two are in.
Well,
It's fascinating.
Our girls treat their children much differently. There's an acceptance level for who these kids are as people.
Right.
And that's what's different. I think our generation, when we were raising kids, it was always that there was this way that they were supposed to be. And it was our job as their parents to fix whatever needed fixing to get them to go down this path. And and looking at what they're doing today, in some ways, this acceptance level and just, I think, is a better way to go than what we did.
Well, we talk about tools.
And I think it's
having
gone,
tools.
it's like you said, the pendulum. I think it's probably gone too far. And technology and social media has made it so much more difficult, I think, for current parents. So it's not an easy thing, raising kids.
No,
Never has been. Never has been.
But I think it's really hard now.
Yeah. I think it's.
But, I mean,
I think it is. But I think it could be easier if we adjusted and understood what the kids are. Having a show like this, I really get to see those different things, and having us adjust. Where I was going with this is, I think that adults are way behind now. It's not a pendulum thing right now. I think we just don't understand. I think kids are at a point. I talked about Penny, the one guy. Picture it like this: kids are so far ahead of us in thinking, and the way they're operating, the way they're registering the world. they're consuming the world is at such a faster pace. They're so far ahead of us, we can't even see the dust in the road down there. In all honesty, this isn't one of those participation trophies things. I don't believe in that at all. But you've got to give something back to adults to say, hey, look, you guys need some more tools. We grew up on these tools where sit down, shut up. That's obviously not going to work, but it's even more than that, guys. I think we have to catch up. I think this book is everybody's important for the parents as the kids.
Yeah,
I think so too.
100%.
Had a parents come up to Susan at book shows and say, thank you for writing this book. Just because it's given me, like you were saying, it's given me a dialogue, a place to begin the process of connecting and accepting, and seeing things in different ways instead of just, well, this is how I was raised, so that's the experience I'm going to use to raise you. And that's great unless you had, I used to joke about the fact that, I had a TV family. It just wasn't, and this is going to date me very badly. It just wasn't the Nelsons, it was the Adams. So, it's if that was your if that was your role model as a kid, you're thinking, I need to find a different role model, and the family, the book and Skyler will help you find
both of those. Neither of those families were good role models. Both of those families are each extreme of that.
Right.
Each extreme of the pendulum, aren't they? You got the Adams family over here and the other one over there.
That's right.
Yep.
Just like Rob Petrie, none of those things are really relevant.
Yes,
we have 2 comments. I want you guys to read these comments, how Susan, John, that I've saved to the end here. You got a question. Faz Rott was the other one that made a comment. But I want you to read you read these. Can you see them?
I cannot see them.
That's not as fun. Darn. Okay, I'll read them then. All right.
Okay.
We don't always get comments, so I'm excited that we got some comments here. After I read the comments, why don't you guys what do you want to leave your 400 fans here with as far as a final comment that you want them to leave with? So I'm going to read Clayton's comment to you two. Great show. Mm-hmm. This topic is so important for middle school kids, and I couldn't agree more. What do you say back to him?
I say thank you. That's exactly what we're shooting for.
That's exactly right. Yes.
And then Faz Rod, I brought him up earlier because of his name. He also made a comment here. Thank you for creating tools kids can actually relate to, and I couldn't agree more.
Thank you for that.
That's exactly the market that Susan was trying to do. She just, I think when you take the book and you get a chance to really read it, you'll see that the experiential process that she takes these kids through is so visual, so clear. If I had a magic wand and I could reach out to somebody, I would think that this would make a great movie or at least a play. I mean, each one of the components, or in the school play, this would be a great school.
Just John, just to add to that, I did a show. God, it's been probably a couple of months now. I don't remember exactly. Similar thing where a lady had a storybook for children. What they did is they took that book and started storyboarding it, and they they actually have a media company now that goes across several platforms. But you said a movie. She's actually talking to a movie company, but she started off a streaming on YouTube here. So just throw something back at you there.
Okay. I'm writing it down.
I keep calling you Mary. I don't know why I keep calling you Mary. Susan, what do you want to leave everybody with? And I'll throw you in the green room, close this out, and I'll come back and catch you on the other side.
I don't really know what to say for a final other than I hope people will.
Come on, John. Give her a poke in the side. Give her
a
poke in the side, John.
I hope it will help people. It is an easy read. It's mostly dialogue, so it's fun and it's quick and it's meaningful.
Yeah, I would agree.
That's awesome.
This book will change the lives of kids and their parents.
That's our
what we want, man. That's what we want. Hey, give your fans here a big wave, both of you guys, and I'll throw you out.
Thank you.
And, We'll see you in a second. I'll see you on
All
the
right.
other.
Take care.
Thank you.
Take care.
All right. You bet. All right. Hey, I told you guys, I've been very excited about this because, I mean, this is literally, you know, we talk about Leaf Lab, how that's actually what that Leaf Lab is it's a handoff, a baton that you're handing off from school into going into the workforce, right? And here, what Susan and John are doing is kind of a relay where we're hitting that next phase, walking. So the regeneration school project picks up in kindergarten, just like, you know, coloring is, you know, coloring in the coloring books. Science is that's maybe not a good one. Math is kind of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. English is A, B, C, D, and then starting that same thing here with kindergartners at that level about learning about math, you know, self-awareness, and even bigger topics like that. Such as, you know, going out, preparing yourself for the world, in whether it be in finance, whether it be in all the different roles, being able to sit down with somebody and have a discourse, have a conversation with another adult, or an adult that you can responsibly communicate as, or having a disagreement with somebody, a discord, whether it be this item or that item, without losing being human. These are all important aspects. We talked with John and Susan earlier about how we need to prepare, our kids and ourselves need to prepare for going out into a world and not being blind when you're doing it. So what stays with me after this conversation is how clearly the pattern shows itself, right? Susan's story, Skyler's journey, John's lifelong focus on emotional intelligence, and the voices we hear from young people like Emma Lynn. Different experiences, but the same need. Kids don't need to be fixed. They need language. They need tools. And they need adults willing to sit with them instead of talking at them. That's what Skyler and the Moonstone Medallions offers so beautifully. A shared language between kids and parents. We were just talking that right at the very end, and built through story, through imagination and trust. And it's why those Saturday conversations between a granddaughter and her grandpa became something bigger. Why voices at the table exists, you know, and why the Regeneration School project just keeps on growing, and why partners like Leaf Lab and the Mangum City Library right here stepped forward and said, you know what, this work matters. Everything we do here at Insights and Straight Talk is about rebuilding from the inside out, family by family, conversation just by conversation, and of course, generation by generation. You heard us talking about that today. If today resonated with you as a parent, as a grandparent, as an educator, or someone who simply cares about where we're headed, I invite you to stay connected. Subscribe at Rod Duff 1939 on YouTube. Join our Substack, where these conversations continue throughout the week. InsightStraightTalk.substack.com. We do 3 of them a week. Barbieisms on Monday, Poems and Pages on Wednesday, and then Friday mic drop. Man, I'm glad I kind of recovered over the day. It was kind of a tough one. The elections and everything going on. This has been a truly special thing, and so many things are coming together. It's fascinating, the path and the journey that we're on here. Those Substacks, they extend that conversation and support Insights and Straight Talk, because ecosystems like this only exist when people believe dialogue changes outcomes the great middle class isn't the great middle class rebuilt by policy alone. We can't do it by policy alone. It's rebuilt at tables like this, where kids are heard, tools are shared, and futures are strengthened. Thank you for being part of it, every one of you. We'll see you next time on Insights and Straight Talk. I'm Rod Duff, your host. And as I always say, I am.
Before you leave, if you'd like to watch another one of the podcasts, click the first link in the description. We love having you here and we appreciate all your support.
And with that, producer Barbie and I are out. Talk to your kids, make it happen.